Hello, Empowered Warriors. Welcome to episode 56. How did you like the month of May? Did you enjoy the fireside chats? Did you enjoy the extra episodes? I know that I truly enjoyed the fireside chats, so stay tuned. You may be seeing more of those on a semi-regular basis. So today I'm really looking forward to today's episode with special guest Saskia Bergmans Smith. You may remember Saskia from episode 48, and we decided that we enjoyed that episode so much that we wanted to perhaps make this a regular thing for me to have Saskia on the episode as a guest. So today we are going to be talking about the ins and outs of sleep, including just a ton of information on how you can have the best night's sleep of your life. And as you probably are already aware, sleep is a problem for many people. There are so many of you out there who do not sleep well, who do not sleep enough, who do not get the quality, nourishing, restorative sleep that our body needs in order to function. And if you're out there thinking, well, that's just the way that I am, I invite you to reconsider that statement and ask yourself, what am I gaining by believing that this is just the way I am? Because what you're actually saying is that you are not able to change. And human beings are one of the most flexible creatures ever. And I invite you to listen to this episode and discover for yourself how it is that you can personally have great sleep at any age, no matter what time it is, no matter what it is that you're going through. There are always ways to improve the quality of your sleep. So warriors, stay tuned. Welcome to the Empowered Warrior Podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am an intuitive coach, acupuncturist, and Chinese herbalist. This podcast is all about empowerment, meaning how you can maintain your personal power in order to have the best life beyond your imagination. An empowered warrior is someone who has the identity of a person who is healthy, radiant, and free from all suffering, and has the tools ready and available to move through life's obstacles with confidence, ease, and a sense of freedom. In this podcast, I bring over 16 years experience in Chinese medicine, countless years of self-development, and a passion for helping others find their personal power. I will be discussing just a few of my favorite topics regarding health from a Chinese medicine perspective, brain habits, and spirituality, so that you can quickly pave your pathway to freedom and be free from the chains that have kept you stuck. My intention with this podcast is to serve as a guide for warriors who want to form a healthy foundation of body, mind, and spirit, and sustain it by changing who they are being from the inside and having a stronger connection to their higher selves. My goal is to help students end the unnecessary suffering that they place on themselves by having poor health habits, negative thought loops, and a lack of self-worth. I am so happy that you're here. Hello, Empowered Warriors. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Warrior Podcast. As you know, I am Angela Noel, and you may remember from episode 48, I had Saskia Bergmans Smith with me as a guest, and the podcast is performing so well. People really seem to resonate with the message that we delivered, that we decided, and we also loved each other's company and the synergy, that we decided, hey, why don't we make this a regular thing? So Saskia, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Angela. Thank you.
So good to see you again. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So what we decided to do was we're just going to convene on a regular basis and talk about our favorite topics or whatever is coming through that we feel needs to be delivered and heard at that particular time. So if you're out there listening and you're thinking, I really would like to hear Angela and Saskia talk about this, feel free to reach out to us. I am Angela Noel on Instagram, and Saskia, you are
Saskia B. Smith
on Instagram. So thank you. And yeah, I'm really excited to dig in. We're going to talk today about
sleep.
Yay.
Oh, we don't get enough, do we?
No,
as a society, as people, as one of the first things that we shortchange ourselves on.
Yeah, it's so true. And, you know, we talked about a couple of possibilities for this episode today. And even before we chatted offline, before pressing record, we were wondering, should we still talk about this? Because it seems like everybody talks about sleep, right? Especially if you're in the health space. But I don't know that it's a topic that we can talk about enough right now.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
It's so needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you getting enough? What is the quality of your sleep? How are you preparing for sleep? These are all the things that Angela and I are going to discuss today. I nearly said tonight because we're talking about sleep, but no, I know.
So yeah, and you know, before we go on, I want to mention something that I think is really important. And I've started to mention this more in other episodes, is, you know, we listen to podcasts. I do this also, usually on the go. And it's like, oh, that's great. That's such a great point, right? And then we often forget it. So if you are listening on the go, I know I listen in the car, I listen while I'm on hikes. I invite you to either take a screenshot. If you hear something, take a screenshot, do it safely if you're driving, obviously, or send yourself a voice memo to come back and listen to that point of the episode again when you can actually sit down and contemplate. Because really, the shifts and the changes happen with repetition and really allowing, in a world where we're so overstimulated with information, but to really allow that to come through 2-3 times, whatever you need. Get out your journal, contemplate in silence. So I feel that that's an important thing to mention, because so many of us need this information around sleep. And it's easy to just nod and be like, yeah, I get it. But to really know it is a different thing.
Yeah, I often take note of the time in which I'm listening to a podcast where that I receive that gem, and either jot it down, but I do my utmost to go back to that point and revisit it, because you're absolutely right. That saturation, that reabsorption in mindful, present moment awareness is so critical.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm really excited. So why don't we just dig into to our topic today, which is on sleep. And Saskia, would you like to take the floor and just talk about your perspectives first?
Yeah, with pleasure.
Guest first.
So what springs to mind is the lead up to sleep, right? What time is it that you generally go to bed? Ideally, we want to turn off the television, dim the lights, slow down an hour to half an hour before bed, right? And especially if you have other family members, if you have teenagers, just the suggestion of the dimming of the lights tells them we're quietening down now, right? So if someone's still out and you don't want them coming home to a dark, empty house, just the fact that they're entering into the house with lights on but dimmed is again setting the tone of, we are already asleep. Please be respectful of your energy output when entering the house. Right? So it sets the tone for the whole family members, or even just for yourself if you're living alone or the kids are already in bed. And it starts to shift the energy internally within you and within the house. Now, in saying that, no television in the bedroom. If you can consider that thought, because we want to consider that as sacred space. I recently heard a story about, a single father having the television in the kids' room because, as a single parent, it can be easy to have the TV in the kids' room because that's sort of, you're letting the TV parent them. But that's not optimal because what came to light was that the kids that were sharing the room, one woke up at 2 a.m. and said, "Oi, are you awake? Can we watch TV?" And they turned the TV on at 2 a.m. Fell asleep, and the other dozed in and out, but you don't really. So, taboo for children, but also for parents. It really is a sacred space.
And to your point, I really, really loved actually what you said specifically about when you have kids at home or if you're expecting somebody late, dimming the lights. I don't know that a lot of people, maybe people do that subconsciously, but to actually make a conscious decision to do that and it's like a form of intention setting. You're setting the intention that the house is a quiet place right now. People are asleep. So I love that you said that. And also to your point about the TV, since we're talking about sleep, some of you might be thinking about the TV and thinking, well, I use the TV as my sleep aid. Right. Because I have trouble sleeping, or if I wake up in the middle of the night, people have different reasons for watching TV in their beds. Some people feel that it feels like they have a friend, right? If they live alone. And I totally get that. But the fact that if you are struggling with sleep and you're using the TV to help you sleep, that might be something to really look at, because you've probably heard, warriors who are listening, that the light that comes from our screens is not helpful to signify to the brain to go to sleep. So, and we're going to talk about some other tactics that are alternative to the TV and to screens. So we're not there yet, but we will get there.
Right. And as Angela says, all of this is a practice. And when you are ready to make those changes, you will make them, and you will have the stamina, the bandwidth, the desire to maintain and sustain that change. Mm-hmm. So this may be an information gathering, and know that, we can be very easy to beat ourselves up about these. Why am I not sleeping better? Why am I not taking these tools in? And give yourself some loving compassion that everything has its time. And this may be a gathering of information time. And for some of you, this may be like, oh my God, that was gold dust. I'm using it. I'm running with it. This is it. Mm-hmm. So this is why we offer this, so that you can take what you need now. And as Angela wisely said, rewind it later and take in what you need later as well. And you can come back to this information.
And there's, I just feel like it's time to really normalize, like this is foundational, right? But it's time to normalize prioritizing sleep, because in our very masculine culture, right? When we talk about masculine and feminine energies, that is just one other thing. I mean, I remember, I'll never forget this, I went on a Carnival cruise with my parents when I was in my 20s. And I don't know if you've been on a cruise, Saskia, but it's all about partying and keeping the guests awake as much as possible, at least the cruise that I went on. And their motto, I kid you not, was, "You can sleep when you're dead."
Wow.
And I was like, oh, even then, like, this was a long time ago then. I was like, no thanks. I'm going to my room.
Right, but it's a vacation. You want to recharge, not leave depleted.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the message. And of course, do you. But the fact that you're listening, warriors, tells me that there's something about what we're saying that is resonating. So,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
what else is on the list, Saskia?
Well, I think the storytelling is helpful because it helps us to piece things together. So a story that just came to mind was a neighbor I had many years ago. Just in chatting, she had young kids like me at the time, and she would say, "Oh, but I go to bed at midnight every night." And I was like, "Ooh, how do you do that?" But then when I saw her in her interactions, I could see she did not have the bandwidth to hold space for her children because she was so tapped. Because going to bed at midnight was the norm, she wasn't aware of how it could be otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you think, "Oh, but I'm fine, I'm functioning." Try to look around in your life, in your day, and witness your ability to be patient, your ability to hold space for others, your ability to be patient and loving towards yourself. Because those are all, if we snap quickly, if we have quick judgmental responses, then there's a signal that we're fraying. That we're fraying at the edges. If we can't hold the bandwidth, if we can't have some stretch within our bandwidth. And because the mind is so slippery, our egoic mind can talk us in and out of so much.
Yeah.
But if we can begin to witness ourselves as if from outside a little more, we may be able to notice some chinks in the armor. And with that humility, we can begin to make change and say, "Oh, I wasn't actually very nice. Maybe that's because I'm not being very patient with myself, and maybe because I'm just exhausted." And just realizing that is what exhaustion does.
Yes.
It doesn't allow us to hold the space for others, let alone ourselves. And as I said, it's become our baseline. So we don't always recognize that life could be richer and that life could be more rewarding and more joyful. And when we actually do choose to go to bed half an hour, 15 minutes earlier, that actually could make a significant impact, a positive impact in our life.
Huge impact. Yeah. And a lot of people resist change because they believe the story that they tell themselves that it's going to be hard or it's going to require a lot of effort. But what you stated about, even if it's 15 minutes, right? Even a workout. I know we're not talking about working out, but that's another thing that often gets people tripped up is, oh, it takes too much time. But it doesn't have to take that much time, especially when you're starting. It's all about the baby steps and putting one foot in front of the other. And I also want to mention something that I started implementing. I heard from one of my mentors that has worked beautifully. And maybe some of you out there have heard it. I only heard about it recently, but it's called HALT. Have you heard about HALT?
No, tell me more.
So when you're feeling, like you don't have the bandwidth, when you're feeling irritable or whatever the, negative emotion where you feel like you literally can't hold space for not just anybody else, but even yourself, halt, stop what you're doing, and go through it's an acronym. Hungry. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Or I'm tired? And sometimes it could be just one, sometimes it could be two or three, or sometimes it's all four. So, and when it's all four, I've definitely been there. It's an opportunity to really step into what I suspect we're going to probably be talking more about is just self-care. Like, what is it that I need? Do I need to eat? Is my blood sugar down? Am I hangry? Am I angry? Whatever, and I feel like that really covers all the basis for taking care of ourselves when we're just not feeling good. And it doesn't have to take that much time. Again.
Yeah. Those incremental steps are huge.
Yeah.
And they are baby steps. And that's what makes it palatable. And that's what begins to create the change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love to actually, and I know we have other things on our list. Hopefully we'll get to most of them, but I feel like there's a really important aspect that people listening, the moms out there, people who are caregivers of some kind, who are responsible for other people. And if they're out there listening, saying, that's really great, because that's one thing, that I feel comes up with me sometimes is I'm not a parent, right?
Right.
So as a parent, I'm curious if you could speak to that, Saskia, like, for those of you that are thinking I could never do that because I have kids or I'm responsible for other people. Do you have any suggestions for that group of people on taking care of yourself?
Yeah. One of the important factors is, do you know what area is the most dissatisfying right now? What area are you willing to put time and effort into shifting? And honestly, this is why the sleep is critical. That sometimes when we feel we don't know which way to go, the sleep is most important, because on those days where I'm feeling overwhelmed and I feel like I can't even make a decision as to what needs to happen next, or what I know I need to, you've got the list of 5 things that need to get done, and they didn't get done that day, and you feel heavy and you're like, oh God, I still have to do all this stuff, and how am I going to get it done? It's like, you know what? Go to bed. You will feel that you can take a more grounded or centered, it will be clear tomorrow morning what it is I need to do. So even if it's like, sometimes I catch myself and I'm like, it's 8 o'clock. There's no way I'm going to bed now, or 9 o'clock. Or when I speak to my family, I'm like, I was in bed by 9:30. They are flabbergasted. 9:30? I mean, that's a ridiculously early hour to go to bed for my parents and for my family. And I'm like, yeah, it was a little early for me too, but I needed it. And witness the resistance, but also witness, is this really what my body needs right now? And asking the body rather than the mind. An important factor that I'd like you to look at in the next week is that, at nighttime when you're sitting on the couch and you notice that dip, sometimes you can barely keep your eyes open. That is your signal to go to bed. Don't be cautious of napping on the couch or trying to push through it, because those windows are normally about 15 to 20 minutes. And that's the body's signal of, now it's bedtime. And this is where the ego is like, no, but I'm so comfortable on the couch. That means I have to brush my teeth, and that means I have to get into my pajamas, or whatever it is, that story that surfaces. But try just to act upon it without any other, just witnessing the dialogue. Just try not to engage in it, and just go on autopilot. Get up, There'll times when you will do this, there will times that you won't. But try to just act on it. Get up, turn the TV off if you're still watching it, or if you're trying to push through finishing something off, don't. Just leave it be. Or if you know it's going to be within three to 4 minutes, fine, finish it off. But act upon that signal of the body, because then we're listening to the wisdom and the innate signals of the body. And that's what we want to do. I know we're not talking about eliminations of the body, but that's the same. How often do we hold our pee? We need to listen and honor the signals of the body and act on them.
And what you just described is basically the foundation, or the system or way of forming new habits and letting go of old habits. You're literally telling your habit brain, your ego, the one that wants to keep you safe and snuggly, right? Talk to the hand. We're not having this conversation anymore. And you go on and you do what you want to do, which is go to bed in this situation. But you can apply that same methodology with junk food. Yeah. Or if you're trying to give something up, or if you're trying to go to the gym and your habit brain is sitting there telling you not to do it because you're tired or whatever the excuse is, that is how it's done. And I love what you said about the couch. I think that's really relatable.
Right?
Right? Because it's so comfy. It's snuggly. And I know I'm so guilty of, oh my gosh, I watch my parents, oh man, falling asleep on the couch every single night. And that is just one thing that I'm like, I still do it once in a while, because sometimes watching a good TV show under the blankets is so cozy, but I'm like, nope. Turning the TV off. I don't care that it's not done. My husband is like a big fan. Like, we got to finish this movie. No, we don't. Well, you can finish watching, but I am going to go to bed because I need to go to sleep right now. Right. And he'll either come with me or he'll keep watching. But really, it's about setting boundaries. People think about boundary setting as if it always involves other people, but the real boundary setting starts with us first.
Yes, it's a biggie.
It's huge.
Talk about that in another episode, won't we?
I would love that. Yeah. So,
but speaking of that cuddly couch, that's that hack that we spoke of, that it goes off half an hour before bed. So we don't get into that slippery slope of negotiating, leaving that cozy place.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful, actually.
Right. So it's that honoring of, so this is part of the intention setting. What time do you go to bed now? And can you, unless it's already 9:30 or 10 o'clock, can you move it forwards 15 minutes, 30 minutes? And just start with that. And you may want to just observe for the next 3. Some of you will be like, yep, I'm taking this action on right now and I'm making the change. But others of you, witness. What time do you go to bed? Is it even consistent? Or is it 11 o'clock one night? Is it midnight one time? Is it 10:30 one time? Is it even consistent? And if it is consistent, move it forwards 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. If it's not consistent, choose a time. And if you can, have it be around 10 o'clock. So that,
yeah.
And if you do, and this is the other end of it, how do you feel in the morning? And how did that night's sleep affect you?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the effect that you get in the morning that helps you to anchor in the action for the night before.
Yes.
And that's what you may need to lean on to say, no, but I felt really good that whole day or all morning. So therefore, I am going to go to bed at 10:30, 10 o'clock, 9:45, whatever it is.
Yeah, I love how you said just using how you feel as your barometer too, because there might be people that are listening saying, I feel good during the day. I don't lose my patience with my kids. That is a good indicator. But I think what you said about consistency is really, really important. I know I'm going to listen to this again myself because
Yeah.
I could use some help in the consistency department.
And
Oh my God.
and that's really something I've been working on refining myself.
Yeah.
And there have been waves. Last fall, I was so consistent on getting up on time, and I loved it. When the clocks changed, I had so much trouble getting out of bed, and I'm still refining going back to where I was because I loved it. So we do ebb and flow, but we are also capable of being consistent. And different body types, different constitutional types have greater ease in finding that consistency. But no matter what your body type is and what your personal character is, the body thrives on routine. And the mind actually thrives. The mind is like, no, I need freedom. I need to be able to do what I want when I want. But the mind actually does thrive more when it's on a routine on the foundational stuff like sleep, food, eat, rest.
Absolutely. So what about, Saskia? I would love to talk about for those people out there that have sleep disturbances, either they are unable to fall asleep or they wake up in the middle of the night and they're struggling with that aspect. I would love to talk about some of the things that maybe you have tried or you work on with your clients or with your yoga students that you have found successful.
Yeah. And I do this with my kids too. With my kids, I sit next to the bed, and sometimes I place my hand either on, sometimes on the front of the heart or the back of the heart. And I just hold it really steady and still, because children can be very fidgety, especially at bedtime. So just having that grounding, and I make sure that I'm comfortable and in a comfortable position, and my energy is grounded. My breath is steady. And then I let my hand rest on their back or on their front, depending on where they're facing me. And I keep that very steady, and I allow my grounding to transmute through my hand onto them. And then I say, slow, steady breath in, and a long, steady, even breath out. And I just continue to speak in a soft tone, gently back and forth. And for myself, I don't necessarily use those words, but I use those actions. And sometimes I place my hand on my heart, or I just let you in on a little something. I sleep with a bolster because I'm a single woman, and it's nice to have something to lean against sometimes at night. So warriors out there, if you are single, I have one of my old yoga bolsters in my bed next to me. And it's more energetic. I don't necessarily go to sleep cuddling it, but it's just the sense of something's got my back. And it, for me, it's spirit, if you would. The divine has got my back, which it does for all of us. But in bed at night, it gives me comfort, really is what it does. It gives me comfort. And sometimes in the middle of the night, I roll over and I cuddle into it and I lean onto it. And it's comforting to me. And in the winter, hot water bottle.
Yes.
There have been nights where I've crawled into bed and I catch myself giggling away because it gives me such pleasure to have this warm hot water bottle on me, but also that I get to lie on the warm patch that it's left. And it makes me really giddish and, giggly.
Very soothing. very soothing.
It
Yeah.
is. And then
And
if the feet are cold,
you can do that too with yourself. So when you mention the hand on your chest, for many people, putting your hand on your heart chakra, is very, very soothing.
yeah,
So I love that.
yeah.
And I know, I think we discussed earlier too, the weighted blanket. Do you use a weighted blanket?
You know, by chance, I ordered one. I saw it on sale. You know, on Facebook, they sometimes have adverts, and closing down sale, and I ordered one by chance right before the pandemic, and it was actually a godsend. Now,
Mm-hmm.
on the websites, you do want to do the math for your body weight to know how heavy the blanket needs to be, because I've heard of people getting weighted blankets and they're like, it's too heavy. I feel like I'm suffocating. So you do need to take that extra step to buy the right weight of blanket appropriate to your body weight. But it is very calming and soothing for the central nervous system. Have you been to the dentist chair when they put the weighted blanket on you for x-rays?
That's probably the only thing about the dentist I love is the weighted blanket for x-rays. And I
Right.
have one, and I actually keep it on me all through the summer with a
So do
fan.
I.
I love, love, love my weighted blanket.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Great when anxiety is high. It's great for super sensitive children.
Mm,
A lighter weight for children who have sensory, autistic children, kids. It's very calming and it makes them feel safe.
yeah. Yeah.
And us as adults, it helps us to feel safe. And that's what allows us to have a better night's sleep.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Innate feeling of safety within. Yeah. Another tip, which
Yeah.
from one of my mentors. Oh, I forgot to ask my family members. I gave each of my family members for Christmas. I think they just laughed at me like, oh, there's another Saskia thing. But it's tape. Do you know the medical tape? And
Every night I do it.
do you really?
Yeah.
Explain it, Angela. To me.
Mouth taping.
Mouth taping.
So I had a dentist, actually. I used to go to a holistic dentist, and now I have a different holistic dentist. But my first dentist, and I feel like this is such an important thing so I'm going to kind of tell the backstory.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I think some people know about it. It's becoming more common, but
Good.
for a lot of people, it might still be weird. So my dentist, I had talked to her about getting braces on my teeth again, because I had braces as a kid. My teeth have kind of moved again. And she did a few tests, and she's like, you tongue thrush. She's like, you tongue thrush. And are you a mouth breather? And I was like, yeah, I think I probably am. I know I wake up, I would wake up in the morning feeling really dry, because I had an orthodontist tell me this, that my mouth is just, my teeth and my mouth are not synchronized together. So she suggested a few things, that I, do therapy to help my, breathing and my tongue. So it doesn't like push against my teeth, because the tongue was doing, there was literally no room for my tongue, and it was causing problems with my bite and everything else. This is a fascinating subject, so I don't want to get too tangential on this. So one thing she suggested, though, is that you can start mouth taping. And I was like, my first reaction, my gut reaction was like, oh man, that sounds horrible, suffocating. I don't know that I could breathe through I don't think I could breathe through my nose every single night.
Oh, yeah.
So that, I don't know, 2 years or something went by where I didn't do anything about it. But what I was noticing, and this is going to be one of those, like, you can't make this up, okay? But I was starting to feel like I was looking in the mirror, and I have a long, thinner face to begin with, but I was looking in the mirror, and I was like, man, my face is changing. Like, I'm becoming like one of those ladies with a really long, skinny face. And so I started doing some research on it. And then around the same time, I went to this like webinar that was held by a dentist, somebody that I knew, a different dentist. And she was talking about the parallels between sleep and mouth breathing and actually like health problems that come from not breathing through your nose. And you might know this because of yoga, right?
Yeah.
And then I read the book Breathe.
Oh, yes.
Which is a breath or breathe. It's a yellow book. And I was like, that's it. I'm mouth taping and I'm going to do everything that I can to correct this problem.
Good.
And Saskia, I kid you not. Okay. My face looks different since I've been mouth taping every single night.
Interesting.
And also I've been correcting the swallowing and the pressing the tongue again, the thrushing of the tongue against the teeth. So my face looks different. And if you think about it, like if you think about kids, and this is very related to sleep because mouth breathing can affect your quality of sleep. So I feel like we should really talk about this.
Yes.
But, when you think about like kids' faces, right? Like this is a problem that is starting to really get addressed in pediatrics, where, tongue tie and all those other things, but also mouth breathing. And if you look at kids that mouth breathe, I feel like now I can tell because of the shape of their face, because of the way their teeth look, and kids that are able to breathe through their nose. So for the warriors listening, if you suspect you're a mouth breather or your kid is a mouth breather, it is, this is not my area of expertise, but it is 100% something that I firmly believe that you should take action on and go to a specialist and get that fixed, because it can be life-changing for your quality of sleep, for the shape, for the aesthetics, whatever your motivation is.
Yeah.
And once in a while, I rip the tape off in my sleep because, allergies or whatever, like sometimes it's just stuffy in the room or whatever. But for the most of the time, it stays on. And it's amazing. As soon as that tape goes on, the brain knows, breathe through your nose. There's no problems. It's really miraculous. So, and it's been a game changer. So for those listening, I highly recommend. And what you buy is the micropore. It's just the regular micropore tape. It's made out of paper. It's easy to get on and off. And I recommend just going very gradual and, maybe doing like a little piece in the beginning just to purse your lips and then graduate. Like I now put 3 pieces on my mouth every night to make sure.
And how does it work for men with facial hair? Do you know?
Oh,
that's why I was going to ask my family, but I forgot to reach out to them.
I've never thought of that before. I guess you can try it and see if it stays on. Or
right, exactly. So warriors, let us know if you know anyone if you have any tips for those with facial hair, because we can't speak to that.
I can't speak to the facial hair, and my husband has some, but he's not. I do so many weird, air quote, weird things that he's like, yeah, whatever, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I know. I had to warn. I didn't warn. I had let my daughters know because I'm like, they still came into the room at night. And I was like, goodness, that could look a bit scary if you suddenly in the room in the middle of the night with your mother with this stuff on her face. So I did forewarn. And my eldest did say, I want to try it. And she did sleep also with it, but they are generally nose breathers anyway.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Talk about breathing through the mouth means we breathe thoracically. We breathe into the chest. When we breathe into the chest solely, we stress the heart, amplify the central nervous system, we bring ourselves into fight or flight. If we're aware of it or not, that is what is being activated.
Yes.
Right? When we cultivate breathing in and out through the nose, the breath is able to occupy more of the lungs, draw deeper down into the lungs and the diaphragm. And we're allowing the breath to inhabit the body more fully. And hence we calm the central nervous system, right?
Yes.
And there's so much more neurologically that happens, but that's the foundation. And goodness, we can imagine just by hearing that, we have that greater understanding of how it improves the quality of our sleep.
Yeah.
Because
Makes perfect sense.